Good morning, everyone. So let's start with another topic today. That is what? Post-fertilization structures and events, right? So what all things we are going to discuss in this particular topic are, first of all, we are going to study about endosperm development, right? Secondly, we will study about embryo development. Thirdly, how ovules are converted into seeds, right? That we are going to study. And finally, conversion of what? Ovary into fruit. Okay. So, as we have already covered pre-fertilization structures and events, then we have covered double fertilization process. Lastly, we are going to study about post-fertilization structures events, right? So, till fertilization or double fertilization process, we have covered up to what? The formation of zygote, right? And the formation of primary endosperm nucleus, then primary endosperm cell. Finally, it is going to give rise to endosperm, right? So now how endosperm going to get developed, that we are going to study. Secondly, we have studied about the zygote formation. Then after the zygote divides, it will form what? Embryo. So that we are going to study in this embryo development. Thirdly, obviously we need to what? Form the seed. So how ovules are converted into seeds, that we are going to study. And finally, we are also going to study about the formation of fruit. So that takes place by the conversion of ovary. So ovary into fruit, that also we are going to study one by one. Okay. So let's start with what? Endosperm development. Fine. So here you can see, as we have already studied about the mature embryo sac, then fertilized embryo sac, right? So this is the structure of fertilized embryo sac, in which you can observe zygote formation, which is diploid, right? From the fusion of one of the male gamete with the egg cell. Okay, that we have already covered. So this we have already done, formation of zygote by the process of synegamy. Okay. Then another male gamete, when combines with the central cell, in that with the polar nuclei, it is going to form what? Primary endosperm nuclei, then primary endosperm cell. So that is nothing but what? Finally, it is going to give rise to endosperm, right? This we are going to study, which is what? Triploid 3N, because two of the nucleus from the polar nuclei and one from the male gamete. Okay. Then what will happen to this antipodal cells on the chalazo end and the synergids on the micropylar end? So the synergids cells as well as the antipodal cells are going to get degenerated. Okay, fine. So next, what happens in the endosperm development is that, as we already know, the formation of primary endosperm cell when took place, right? At that time, it will divide repeatedly and it is going to form what? A triploid endosperm tissue. Obviously, right? Triploid endosperm tissue. Next, we have what? Endosperm cells are filled with what? Next point is, it is filled with reserve food material. Why so? Because it is going to give what? Nutrition to the developing embryo. So it is the function of what? Endosperm cells. Fine. Next, some other points related to this endosperm development are what? This PEN, or you can say primary endosperm nucleus. This undergoes successive nuclear divisions and finally it is going to give rise to a free nuclei, which is further called as what? Free nuclear endosperm. We are going to deal with one example in which you will come to know about the free nuclear endosperm also, as well as this next point is about the cellular endosperm. Okay, so that also we are going to study with the help of one example. Fine. So next point is what? Number of free nuclei varies. Obviously, right? It can vary from one species to another. Fine. Next point, when the cell wall formation occurs around the endosperm cell, at that time, that endosperm cell is known as what? Cellular endosperm. So here we are going to study about what? Free nuclear endosperm as well as cellular endosperm, right? By taking one example, that is of what? Tender coconut, right? That we will see further. So here in this diagram, you can observe endosperm initiation and proliferation. It means what? It will further divide and it is going to form what? Main endosperm, which is going to give nutrition to the developing embryo. Okay. So next we will take the example of what? tender coconut. So here in this diagram you can observe a tender coconut, or you can say unripened coconut, right? Here you can see both the parts, that is water also inside the coconut and white kernel part of the coconut. So in this example you can study about what? This cellular endosperm also, which is the white kernel part of tender coconut, as well as free endosperm nucleus also, which is the water inside the coconut, right? Fine. Next we will discuss about the embryo development. Fine, we have covered the endosperm development. In that we have covered free endosperm nucleus and cellular endosperm by taking the example of tender coconut, right? So now we will discuss about embryo development. So in this you can observe this particular diagram. In this what happens is we have zygote formation, right? Further it is going to give rise to what? Pro-embryo. Then you can see different shapes of this embryo, right? It is of globule shape, so it is going to convert into globular embryo. These are the stages of the embryo development. Further you can see heart shape embryo, so obviously it is known as heart shape embryo, right? It is looking like heart, so that's why it is known as heart shape embryo. Further it is going to give rise to a mature embryo. So here you can observe different parts of this particular embryo, that is radicle, cotyledons, right? Suspensor cells and all, which is going to give the support to the developing embryo, right? The mature embryo, radicle, which is going to give rise to further root development, and cotyledons, which are basically, you can call it as what? Seed leaves. Okay, so in case of dicotyledon, we have 2 cotyledons, and in case of monocotyledon we have 1 cotyledon. Okay, fine. One more thing about the embryogeny process. So as we have discussed about the formation of mature embryo, that stages, or you can say the early embryonic development. Okay, how this embryo gets developed, that stages is known as what? That particular phenomena is known as embryogeny, that is early embryonic development. Fine. So if we talk about monocots and dicots, so here you can observe monocots and dicots seeds, this particular what? Embryogeny process is mostly similar. Fine. So next we are going to discuss about what? Monocotyledon embryo and dicotyledon embryo. Okay, so moving forward. So this is the structure of typical dicotyledonous embryo. So here you can observe different what? Parts of this particular dicotyledonous embryo. Okay, what are different parts of this dicotyledonous embryo? Radicle, which is going to give rise to further root formation. Okay, pimule, which is going to give further rise to shoot system. Okay, then cotyledons, as we have already discussed, that means what? Seed leaves. So here you can observe we have 2 cotyledons, so that is dicotyledonous embryo, right? Next we have hypocotyle. So hypocotyle, as the name suggests, hypo means below. So hypocotyle is a part which lies below to the cotyledon. Okay, and the part which lies above to the cotyledons is known as what? Epicotyle. Okay, epicotyle, which lies above to the cotyledons. Fine, which is near to this pimule, and this hypocotyle further give rise to what? Radicle, and then root cap. Root cap is a small structure which shields this what? Radicle, or you can say root tip. Fine. This particular parts is known as what? That is consisting of pimule, cotyledons, epicotyle, hypocotyle, radicle, root cap and all forms embryonal axis, right? Forms the embryonal axis. So this is about what? Dicotyledonous embryo. Moving forward, we have what? Monocotyledonous embryo. So here you can see the structure of LS of a grass embryo. That is an example of monocotyledonous embryo. So here also you can observe different parts, right? That is scutellum. Scutellum is nothing but what? In case of this particular monocotyledon, we have scutellum, which is known as cotyledon only, right? So in case of grass family, this cotyledon is known as basically scutellum. So you can observe only one cotyledon since it is monocotyledonous embryo, right? Or seed leaves also you can say, fine, as we have already discussed. Then we have shoot apex, obviously that is the region of pimule, right? Then radicle and root cap, which is going to give rise to root system, fine. Now we have what? Coleorhizae, which is a structure which basically covers or shields what? This radicle and root cap, fine. And this coleoptile, which basically shields this what? Pimule, right, which is going to give further rise to what? Shoot system, fine. Then epiblast, you can say it is like underdeveloped what you can say cotyledon, but in case of monocot we have just one cotyledon, that is scutellum. In case of dicots, this epiblast can lead to further cotyledon part. Okay, so this was all about what? Monocotyledonous embryo. Moving forward, now we will discuss about what? Conversion of ovule into seed, right? Seed formation. So in that also we are going to study about what? Dicot seed and monocot seed. So from the diagram you can observe again, as we have discussed about the dicot embryo and monocot embryo, similarly we are going to discuss about the dicot seed and monocot seed. Okay, so in dicot seed again you can observe the structures, two cotyledons, if you can imagine about the chickpeas and all, right? Which is an example of dicot seed, fine, dicotyledonous seed. So in that we have two cotyledons, again epicotyle, hypocotyle, this we have already discussed. Then one more thing is there, that is what? Seed coat, right? So this seed coat develops from which part of the ovule? Integuments, right? Integuments, we have already discussed about the anatropous ovule structure. In that we have studied about outer integument, inner integuments, right? Which is going to give rise to further seed coat, right? Okay, then all other parts we have already covered. Epicotyle, which gives rise to what? Near to the pimule region, or you can say above the cotyledons, and hypocotyle, which will be below the cotyledons, right? Secondly, we have which structure? Monocot seed. So in that also you can observe what? Seed coat, epicotyle, hypocotyle, radicle, going to give rise to the root system. Same things are there, right? Then cotyledon, single cotyledon will be present as it is monocot, or you can also call it as what? Cotyledon or seed leaves or scutellum in case of monocot. Okay. Then endosperm. So endosperm we have already discussed. It is going to give what? Nutrition to the developing embryo. So obviously being a seed, so it needs what? Food reserve. Fine? Okay. Moving forward. Now we have basically two types of seeds, that is non-albuminous and albuminous seeds. Okay. So we'll see the difference between these two types of seeds. This non-albuminous seeds, right? Or you can also call it as what? Non-endospermic seeds. Right, as the name suggests, non-endospermic seeds, or you can also call it as ex-endospermic seeds also, right? So in this there is no, what you can say, residual endosperm. All the endosperm has been consumed. Okay, so that is why it is known as what? Non-albuminous, or you can say non-endospermic seeds. Examples of this is what? Pea, groundnut, beans. These are some of the examples of what? Non-albuminous seeds. Albumin is a protein. Okay, since this particular endosperm gives nutrition to the growing embryo, so obviously it should rich in various nutrients. So that is why maybe it is a source of, you can say, protein, albumin. So that is why, since no residual endosperm is found inside this particular seed, so that is why it could be known as what? Non-albuminous seed, or you can say non-endospermic seeds. Second type we have what? Albuminous seed, or you can say endospermic seeds. So as the name suggests, endospermic seeds, that means what? It will retain some of the endosperm, right? It will retain some of the endosperm during the embryonic growth. Okay, for example, wheat, maize, barley, castor, coconut, sunflower. This you can remember from your MCQ point of view also. Okay, objective point of views. So you should remember the examples of albuminous seeds or endospermic seeds and non-endospermic or non-albuminous seeds. Okay, examples also, definitions also, and differences also. Fine. Oh, moving forward. So here you can observe in this diagram, these are the structures of some seeds. So here you can observe it is a type of dicot seed, right? Different parts are already labeled, which we have already discussed. Okay, then here we have what? Monocot seed. This also we have discussed earlier. So these are some of the structures of dicot as well as monocot seeds. One point regarding what? This micropyle. Okay, in this particular seed, the role of micropyle is to what? For the exchange of, you can say, air, oxygen, water, right? Absorption of water. So this micropylar end, it is going to take place. Okay, absorption of water, air, oxygen and all. Fine. Moving forward, different, what you can say, one more term regarding this perisperm, right? So that you need to remember. In some seeds, for example, black pepper, beet and all, remnants of nucellus, or you can say the remains of the nucellus, right? It persists for some period of time. So in that condition, that structure is known as what? Perisperm. So in this diagram, which is of pepper seed, you can observe what? Perisperm, which develops by the remaining part of the nucellus only, which we have already covered in our previous lectures, right? Next point about micropyle we have already discussed. Okay, about seed coat we have discussed. Seed coat, obviously, as we have discussed, it is going to get formed from the integuments of ovules only, right? So as it gets hardened, tough, right, it is acting as what? Protective covering around the seed, and that is nothing but what? Seed coats. Next, there is small opening which is called as micropyle, which we have already discussed. Role of micropyle is through which this oxygen as well as water enter inside the cell, so that seed could get germinated. So during the process of seed germination, this micropyle also plays very important role. Okay, fine. Moving forward. Okay, one more term regarding dormancy, right? So the seed, as we have already covered about seed germination, fine. So when the seed enters in a dormant phase, or you can say inactive phase, right? At that time, its germination will get stopped. Okay, so that is the meaning of dormancy. Fine, the activity here you can observe the metabolic activity of the embryos slows down. Obviously, it becomes somewhat inactive, right? But it may enter a state of that only inactivity, or you can say inactive, that is nothing but dormancy, and the seeds become dormant. And as we give the favorable conditions to the seed, it will start germinating and the seed dormancy will get break. Okay, fine. So here you can observe under favorable conditions, moisture like oxygen, suitable temperature, it is required to break the dormancy of seeds. Okay, so that it could get germinated. Okay. Next we have what? Advantages of seeds. So advantages of seeds, there are certain advantages. One by one we are going to discuss the advantages of the seeds. Fine. First of all, since pollination and fertilization are independent of water, but obviously when we talk about the seed, it is more dependent on water. Fine. Secondly, we have what? Dispersal. So better adaptation strategies for what? For the dispersal to the new habitats. So in that also seed have advantage. It helps the species to colonize in some other regions, areas also by the dispersal of seeds. Fine. Third point we have about the food reserve. So in this food reserve, what happens? Young seedlings, right? Young seedlings which are going to form a complete seed only, it will get what? It will get nutrition and all. So that is why it is acting as a food reserve, right? Fourth point regarding what? Hard seed coat, which is the protective layer for the seed. Fine. Fourth, we have about this genetic recombinants, or you can say being products of sexual reproduction, they generate what? New genetic combinations, and variations. So we can also produce some hybrid seeds and all, right? That we will discuss further. Fine. Next point about the dehydration and dormancy. Dormancy we have already discussed. Under the unfavorable conditions, seed will become dormant. It will attain the dormancy phase, in which it will stop the germination of seed, right? So dehydration and dormancy of mature seeds are crucial for what? For the storage of seeds, for the preservation of seeds, so that we can preserve it for the longer period of time. Okay, so that it can also be used as food throughout the year as we have preserved it, right? By which methods? By dehydration and by dormancy. Fine. And also we can raise the crop in the another season, next season. So these becomes also the advantage. Fine. Okay. Next point is regarding what? Viability of seeds after their dispersal. That means what? Once the seeds get dispersed from one region to another, from one area to another, how much time it will be viable or active? So that some points are there. So that we will discuss. Okay, first point regarding what? In few of these species, seeds lose viability within a few months, whereas in some cases, it may be viable for years also. Okay, for many years also. So there are some examples from the MCQ point of view. You can remember it. Okay, so second point regarding what? Some seeds can remain alive for hundreds of years, right? Example, lupine. So this you can remember from the MCQ point of view, from your objective point of view. It is very, very important. Okay, lupine, that is Lupinus articus. Fine. So this remains, the seeds of this particular plant species remains viable for even hundreds of years, right? Next, this also you can remember from the MCQ point of view. 2000 years old viable seed is of the date palm, that is Phoenix dactylifera, right? So this also you should remember from the MCQ point of view. Okay, fine. Next, so next we will discuss about the formation of fruit from the ovary. So ovary is going to give rise to which structure? Fruit. Fine. So we will discuss about some points regarding what? Formation of fruit from the ovary. So first is regarding what? The ovary develops into a fruit. This we already know, right? We have already discussed also. Now we will discuss some other parts of this particular fruit, right? Second point regarding transformation of ovules into seeds and ovary into fruit proceeds simultaneously. Conversion of ovule into seeds and conversion of ovary into fruit takes place simultaneously. Fine. Third point regarding what? The structure called as pericarp, right? Which is what? The wall of the ovary, you can say, which is going to get mature and form the fruit. So pericarp is nothing but the outer wall of the fruit, right? Next we have what? Fruits may be fleshy, obviously pulpy, fleshy. This is normal characteristic, common characteristic of fruit. So for example, in case of guava, orange, mangoes, etc., right? Or it can also be dry. For example, mustard, groundnut, etc. type of this fruits. Okay. Next, we will discuss about the types of fruits. Right. So there are basically two types of fruits. They are what? True fruits and false fruit. Okay. So as the name suggests, true fruits. That means what? As we have already discussed, the fruit is going to get formed from which part? Ovary. Okay. So the fruits which develops actually from the ovary, such fruits are known as true fruits, right? So for example, most of the plants, right? In most of the plants, this particular ovary converts into fruit. For example, banana and all. Okay. But in some of the cases, in some fruits, what happens? Some fruits are formed not directly from the ovary, but some other part of that flower. Okay, that is maybe through the thalamus region, receptacle region, stalk region. Okay, so such fruits in which is formed from the part other than the ovary, right? Such fruits are known as false fruits, right? Such fruits are known as false fruits. For example, in case of apple, right, we eat the thalamus portion. Fine. not the ovary, but the thalamus is going to give rise to the formation of fruit, that is in case of apple, right? Another example we have strawberry, cashew, right? So these are also some of the examples in which the fruit is going to form from the other parts other than the ovary, right? That is thalamus. Fine. So this also you can remember as the what differences also between the true fruits and false fruit, as well as their examples. Okay. It may come in your objective questions also, MCQs also. Fine. So this you should remember. Next term is about what? Parthenocarpic fruits. Fine. So as we have already discussed, fertilization plays very important role, right? For the formation of what? Further formation of endosperm, embryo, then seed, and then finally fruit, right? But there are certain, what you can say, one type of fruits, right, which develops without actual fertilization. So here you can see in some species fruits develop without fertilization. Actually it should have developed from the fertilization process, but in some species there is no fertilization, but still we can observe the formation of fruit, right? So that type of fruits are known as parthenocarpic fruits, right? That type of fruits in which it is formed without the fertilization process, it is known as parthenocarpic fruits, right? For example, in case of bananas also, okay. Then next point regarding parthenocarpy is that how we can induce the parthenocarpy in the fruits, right? So by the application of different plant hormones, fine, we can what? Induce the parthenocarpy so that we can produce the fruit without fertilization. Clear? What is the meaning of this parthenocarpic fruits? These are the fruits which are formed without fertilization, right? Okay. So last but not the least, right, we have two more subtopics, that is apomixis and polyembryony, right? Apomixis and polyembryony. So in this there are certain points as we have discussed. Parthenocarpic fruits, that is the formation of fruits without the fertilization. So in that manner only apomixis is the production of seed, but actually without fertilization. Seeds are also formed by the fertilization step only, fertilization process only. But in some species, the formation of seeds takes place without fertilization. So that is known as what? Apomixis. So you can remember apomixis means what? Away from mixing, right? Apomixis, right? In which you can remember it as away from mixing. Mixing as in what? Male gamete and female gamete we are talking about, right? When the male gamete and female gamete fuse together, it will form what? Zygote, which will further give rise to embryo, right? And finally seed is going to get developed. Fine. So, but in case of this some species, there is formation of seeds without the fertilization. So that process is known as apomixis, right? There is no combination of what? Male gamete and the female gamete. Means you can say it is a form of like asexual reproduction, fine, which copies the sexual reproduction, fine. Examples, some of the examples of this apomixis are Asteraceae, right, which includes what? Daisy and all flowers, right, and grasses. So this also you can remember from the MCQ point of view, okay, fine. Next is about what? Development of apomictic seeds. So how we can develop this apomictic seeds, that is the formation of seeds without fertilization. So there are certain points that we will discuss. As we have already discussed, it is a type of it is a form of asexual reproduction, right? So similarly the point says the same. In some species, diploid egg cell is formed without actual reduction division. Actually it could have taken place by the reduction division. But without reduction division only, this develops into what? Embryo. Fine. Without fertilization. So this is one of the method through which we can develop apomictic seeds. Right. Second point, in case of many species, for example, citrus, mango varieties and all, right? Citrus, for example, lemon and all, some nuclear cells surrounding the embryo sac, it also divides and finally it will protrude into the embryo sac to form what? Embryos. Okay, so with this also we can produce the apomictic seeds without actually fertilization process, right? Next, occurrence of more than one embryo. One more term you should remember, right? That is about what? Polyembryony. That is about polyembryony. So as the name suggests, poly means what? Many. Embryo means embryony, related to embryo. So when, what you can say, occurrence of more than one embryo, right, in a particular seed, it is known as what? Polyembryony. So this term also you should remember. Okay, fine. Next, about its importance. So importance of apomixes in case of hybrid seed industries, right? So there are certain points regarding this also. One by one we will see what are the advantages, or you can say significance or importance of what? Apomixes. That is the in which there is formation of seed without fertilization. So what are the advantages? So we can see if the seeds from the hybrids, right, hybrid seeds are grown, so what can happen? The further generation or the progeny of the offsprings will segregate, and there is possibility it might lose the hybrid characteristics, right? So it becomes disadvantage. So in order to, what you can say, in order to particularly, what you can say, another advantage, right? This is one of the disadvantage. But to combat this particular point, we have what? Apomixes. Fine. So in that condition, production of hybrid seeds is costly. This is also one of the disadvantage. So hybrid seeds are also expensive. This becomes disadvantage. But what are the, what you can say, how we can combat this particular disadvantages? By the apomixes, by using the apomixes in the hybrid seed industries. So if the hybrids are made onto apomix or the apomictic seeds we are using, right, what are the advantages then? So there is no segregation. Segregation will not take place, and so that is why the characters of what? Hybrid progeny, or you can say offsprings, right, of another generation. So how it can help the farmers? It can help the farmers so that it can keep on using the hybrid seeds to raise their crop production, or you can say crop yield. So this becomes one of the major advantage of using this apomixes, in which we form the seeds without actual fertilization in hybrid seed industries. Okay, fine. So with this we have completed this post fertilization event structures also, as we have completed this chapter. Thank you.